Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dreams Unlimited Travel Podcast. My name is John Magi, and I'll be your host. And in this episode, we're going to talk about planning a Walt Disney World vacation with someone who does not speak English or for who the English is not their first language. It might be their second language. I am joined via the internet by our panel of experts. Client Services Manager for Dreams Unlimited Travel, Kevin Close.
Hi, everyone.
I apologize for that noise. That was me. Agent for Dreams Unlimited Travel and host of the See Disney podcast, Federico Agar.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, Federico. Thank you, everybody at home, for joining us. We really appreciate it. So happy to be doing this topic. We have been doing a bunch of topics for planning with folks who have disabilities or might be older or, certain specific needs. And we feel like this was one we wanted to do for a long time, but couldn't. So we're so happy to be able to address this with you guys and have Federico join us for it. Now, I want to make sure before we get started that people know who Federico is. And so we'll get to know him a little bit before we jump into the topic. Federico, what do you want folks to know about you?
So I'm from Colombia. I live in Medellin currently, and between Medellin and Cartagena, which is in the Caribbean coast of Colombia. And I have been working with Dreams since almost a year now. I started in the beginning of last year. And when I started, I talked to John and Pete about being a Spanish agent and, reaching out to people in Latin America or in the United States who speak Spanish to help them plan their vacations. And I came up with the idea of creating a Spanish version of the DIS of WDW Info. And during the pandemic, I started translating almost, I think it was like 300 pages of information into Spanish. Because I thought that information was so well done in English and there was a lack of that in Spanish. So I got into that great job because I learned so much from it during the pandemic and started working as an agent for Dreams as well.
Excellent. Tell us about your first time to Disney and how many times you've been.
My first time was when I was 10 years old in 1996. It was the 25th.
All right, so we're going to end the show there.
I was just thinking that.
We're going to leave. All
So
right.
I actually saw the castle as a cake, as a birthday cake for my first time. And then I came back to Colombia and I started being obsessed with Disney, and I tried to, we didn't have the internet in Colombia back then, or at least I didn't have it. So I tried to look for information all over the place because I wanted to know as much as I could about Disney. And then when I grew up, I went to Argentina to do my bachelor and my master's in art history. That's my academic career is as an art historian. And I came back to Colombia to do my PhD here in art history, Latin American art history. And since then I started just traveling to Disney, and most of the trips I did were as an adult. So I get to experience it in a different way. I've been, I think, 8-9 times.
Excellent. So I think in 1996, it's not unusual that you couldn't find a lot of information about Disney. None of us could. It really wasn't something that was out there. There were some small sites doing some stuff. And of course, the DIS started a few years after that. But after, sort of the internet exploded and there's the DIS and there's all the stuff that we're doing about it, there was still a lack of information for folks who spoke Spanish, correct? It wasn't like, oh, okay, all of a sudden everyone's doing this.
Yeah, so it was kind of interesting because the reason why I started learning how to speak English was because I felt like I needed to know how to speak English to gain access to that information. I remember we have the Disney Channel back then when I was a kid, and there was a show called Inside Out that was in the parks. That was like my first and the only connection that I have with information about Disney. So I needed to learn how to speak English to understand what these people are saying and showing in this program. But it was shocking to me that even with the internet and with all the information that we have right now, there wasn't a source of information like www info, like the DIS, in Spanish that you can access when you have questions or when you want to have information about a specific attraction or something more deep than what you can get from the Disney official website. So that's why it was so important for me to do all the work of translating all those pages and all that information, because I thought it was important for people in the planning process to have that in their language.
Yeah, I mean, we even saw a need within Dreams Unlimited Travel. You know, we were lacking folks who spoke Spanish to address potential clients who, you know, wanted to work with someone who spoke Spanish. So it was something that we wanted to address as well. And we think it's great. We've got a great new resource for them. See Disney, S-I, as in yes in Spanish, Disney. And that's also the name of the podcast that you host, as well as the website. So
Exactly. We have a website. We have the YouTube channel. And we have also presence in Instagram and Facebook. So you can follow us there and maybe learn some Spanish if you don't know. I mean, if I learn English with this, maybe you could do the other way around.
Well, I think, you know, a lot of people learn another language out of necessity. You learned English because you wanted to come to Disney and you wanted to get that information. We learn different languages when we travel there. You know, when Kevin and I go to different countries, we make sure, listen, we're not fluent in it by any means, but we always try to pick up something or learn something so that we can talk to people locally. Now, we're lucky. English is very prominent all over the world, especially if you go to metropolitan cities. You know, if you go to Paris or Barcelona or any places around the world where there are large numbers of people who are tourists, the locals will speak English. But yeah, it's sort of that necessity of needing to learn it. So let's talk about, for folks who don't speak English and they're looking to plan their trip to Disney, obviously they can use the website and the podcast as a reference. But what are the things that they need to know for coming to the United States maybe, or not speaking English? I mean, travel all over the world is universal, right? There's nothing different about getting on a plane or anything like that. We want them to know. But what do we want them to know specifically, just for the pre-trip plan, pre-trip vacation part of it?
Well, I think even for me, I speak English, well, maybe not perfectly, but I think I can manage myself in English. And even for me, when I'm working, like for example, with a client and I need to call Disney for something, most of the time I prefer to talk to someone who speaks Spanish, because it's easier. It's going to be a much more simple process when I'm planning something for a client. So when you're planning a vacation, especially to a place like Disney World that has so many details and so many things that you have to consider when you're organizing a trip, and so many options that you have to decide from, having someone who speaks Spanish or who speaks your language, who can help you right away with the planning and with tips and with recommendations, goes a long way. It's going to help you a lot, and it's going to like take away the fear, especially when you come to the United States for the first time. A lot of people don't know that Florida is a place where you're gonna find people in Spanish who speak Spanish, or at least who can understand what you're saying. And we always go to that place that we never been before, scared because it's something new and because of the problems that a language barrier may present. What if I get lost? What should I do? How am I going to solve any problems that I have? So having someone who can guide you through the process and also tell you, like, it's okay. People are gonna understand you. They're gonna be able there to help you in anything you can. So don't be afraid. They receive people from all over the world who don't speak English, so they are prepared to deal with people who are going to be frustrated when it's hard for them to understand what the cast member of the person is saying. So to answer your question, my first recommendation is get someone who speak your language, that can be like a bridge between the experience that you're going to have and the barriers of language that you may have.
I would say that Florida's second language is Spanish. There's a great many Spanish-speaking people in Florida, and especially in Central Florida. I don't mean especially. There are Spanish-speaking people all over Florida, but there's a great many in Central Florida. And many cast members are bilingual. On their name tag, they will have a little flag hanging below their name that will tell you what languages they speak. And I would say the vast majority of those that are waving that little foreign language flag would be Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And Americans are great because we're famous for, when we don't know what you're saying or we're trying to communicate with you, we talk slowly
And loud.
and loudly. We figure that's how we're going to get you to understand us. And that is not the case. So before we get to Disney, we haven't got to Walt Disney World yet. They get off the plane, they're in Orlando International Airport. Easy airport to get through. Is it okay for folks who don't speak English, or is it a challenge?
So I don't think it's that complicated to go through the Orlando International Airport as it is, for example, in other cases, as I went to Atlanta International Airport. That one is massive and is very scary for someone who's never been there and who doesn't speak English.
Hey, it's scary for
I
us.
speak English,
Yeah.
and it's still
It is.
scary.
It's like a city with all the transportation system. And in Orlando, I found it very, very easy to move around. And it's actually very fun because you have the Disney store, the Universal store. So it's a friendly place that you're already getting a hint of what you're gonna get, in the parks. I have on my last
Orlando
trip.
is also light and bright. It's a very sunny place. The Orlando airport is very well lit, and I don't know why, but I think that makes it more user friendly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and since it's used by a lot of people from Latin America, I had a guy who approached to me on my last trip, and he was just asking me, "Do you speak Spanish?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And he was asking how to get to the exit, and I'm just like, follow everyone because we're all going into the same direction. And it was very easy for him to solve that problem he had in that moment. So my experience has been very, very easy with Orlando compared to other places, at least.
Orlando does a good job of, there's pictures. So, this way to the luggage, and this way to the tram. And yeah, when my father flew by himself once, I told him, I said, here's the deal, just follow the stream of people.
Mm-hmm.
Just follow the line of traffic, because everyone's going in the same direction. You can't really get lost. So we got to the airport. I assume you guys probably taken Disney's Magical Express, even though that's going to be going away. Does that something that work well for folks, or should we to Uber? What should you suggest?
I use all of them, I think, except taxis. But with Uber, is very easy just to, because you have very good internet, Wi-Fi connection on the airport. So if you don't have a SIM card from the US, you can just log in and get an Uber from the baggage claim and just wait for them right outside. And of course, if you use Magical Express, is even more easy to find the place and to go through all the process and to get in the bus and get into your hotel. So yeah, I think compared to other places, again, very easy.
Excellent. All right, so you've gotten to the resort now. With the new thing where you check in before you arrive, is the app easy for folks to use who don't speak English? I don't even know this. Is there the app available in other languages?
No, it's not. And that is where it gets a bit complicated, because right now we don't have My Disney Experience in Spanish, and I don't think it's available in any other languages. So you have to understand a bit of how it works and get familiar with the app before your trip in order to know how to do the check-in and how to unlock your room door with the app. But my suggestion is always go to the front desk. Even if you manage to do the online check-in, go to the front desk, speak to someone. They're gonna know how to speak Spanish, or they're gonna try to find someone who speaks Spanish, and you're gonna be able to solve all the questions that you have, and you're gonna be able to, get more familiar with the place and with the layout of the resort. So I think it's always a good idea, even if you have knowledge on how to work the app, to go to the front desk. But yeah, that's a problem. We don't have it in Spanish.
And as Kevin said, you look for someone who's got the little name tag, the flag on their name tag that tells you what language they speak. And if you can't find somebody right away, like you don't recognize them, always ask. That's always the best thing to do. Disney's great. Cast members are wonderful. They want to help you, and they want to find someone to help you. So that makes it a lot easier. All right, so we've gotten to the room. Let's talk about the parks. Now, I know that the parks have maps in different languages. Are these helpful to folks, or is it just kind of like, all right, it's nice to have it?
I think they're very helpful, especially because you have a lot of different languages that you can choose from. And since, again, the app...
They're not all the same map. When you walk in to any park, there is a stand with different maps on it, and they'll have them in different languages. It's not a confusing map where everything is on the same thing. You would choose the map that would benefit you.
Correct.
Exactly. You're going to find it in the entrance of the park. They are free, of course, and you just have to look for the language that you speak or your kids speak. And they're very cute. I used to have them as souvenirs when I went to the park as a kid. And they're very good. Even when you, again, know how to work with the app, sometimes you get without batteries on your cell phone, and having the map is a good way to move around and to know the times where the shows, when they have them, are, and to find the guest services, offices, and everything that you may need in your visit to the parks. So that's a good thing. Again, with the resorts, cast members are great they understand people from all over the world come to Disney World. So even if they don't speak your language, or if you can't find someone who says that speaks your language on the name tag, they're going to be able to help you finding someone who does. So just be calm, don't stress. And even if you have a big problem, just be patient and tell them, I don't speak English. Help me please to find someone, because it's going to be easier to communicate in my language.
Yeah, getting around is easy. I mean, the map is good to have for the specifics, but the great thing about any Walt Disney World theme park is that it's all laid out really well. So it's kind of intuitive, right? You can get your way around and figure out your way around. So let's talk about specifics now. Let's talk about rides, shows, attractions. I know that for some rides and shows that there's a listening device that does translations. What do you know about those devices?
Yes. So the devices are called Ears to the World, Orejas del Mundo, if you speak Spanish. They are for free, and you do have to pay $25 as a deposit. And if you take back the device in good shape, they're gonna give you back the $25 per device. And they are available in, I think, is Japanese, German, French, Portuguese, and Spanish, I think it is. And they are only available for some of the attractions. Now, you have to be aware that the translation that you're going to get is very, like a very direct translations. For example, there are some attractions, there are some rides that even if you get a translation, you're not gonna understand the whole meaning of the attractions. I'm thinking, for example, of the Jungle Cruise. The Jungle Cruise is a very particular case because it depends a lot on the jokes that the skipper, the cast member, makes in the trip. And the translation you're going to get from the devices is going to be very, like a very direct description of what you're seeing. Like, for example, now we are going to see the elephants, and then we're going to go to this part of the jungle. So you're going to be hearing a cast member who is telling jokes, and you're going to be hearing people around you laughing from those jokes, and you're not going to understand what's happening.
Right.
So you do have to be aware that is a good tool to get the main picture of what the attraction is about, but some of the specific like colors of the attraction you may lose from the translation.
Yeah, this isn't available for every attraction. It's select attractions. And there's going to be somewhere it's going to be more, one for one. I think it's Carousel of Progress. This is a script. So you're going to hear it as it's read on the ride and word for word. But anywhere where there's sort of a nuance to it, just realize you're going to miss some stuff. So for the stuff that doesn't have the availability of Spanish translations or any other language except for English, do you find that the rides lose something if you don't understand what's going on? Let's say Spaceship Earth or, Rise of the Resistance, or any ride where, you might say, is it hard to follow the story?
It's funny that you mentioned Spaceship Earth because that's the only one attraction that has the possibility of getting it in different languages. So when you get in the ride, you're gonna see a screen in front of you, a touch screen, that you can choose the language that you want because it's a history of communication. So they try to make it approachable to people who have different languages. And the whole experience is gonna be in your language. So that's a different one. But it really depends on the attraction, in my opinion, or the show. I think there are some cases where you're going to lose a lot, and even it's going to become a boring experience if you don't speak English. But in most of the cases, is not. And I believe that is because Disney they do such a great job with storytelling that the way they tell that story is not only with the speaking voice, with the speech. They do it with sounds, with smells, with colors, with the whole ride experience. So you're gonna get something even if you don't understand the what people are saying. But there are other cases. For example, I always tell my clients to be very aware, for example, in the Total Talk with Crush, the interactive experience in the Seas Pavilion in Epcot, because it's an experience for kids. And I believe that you have to be aware and you have to tell your kids and prepare your kids before the experience that you're gonna have a character that is gonna be speaking to the kids in a language that he or she is not gonna understand. So it may be a frustrating experience for especially young kids who wants to talk to the character, wants to have an interactive experience with them, and they're not gonna be able to do that. So it really depends, but in most of the cases, I don't think it's a problem.
That leads me to another question. This isn't an issue now because there aren't the same character interactions, but what do you tell folks to tell their kids when it does come to character interactions, that perhaps the character won't speak their language, or do you find that that doesn't matter?
I don't think it matters because, as again, these cast members and these characters are used to interacting with people from all over the world in different languages. And they're very good at knowing how to approach the people who are talking to them. Like, for example, if you are shy and you feel uncomfortable talking to them, they know how to react. They know how close to be or how to, make that interaction. And I think the same thing happens with finding someone who doesn't speak their languages. Like they understand and they're gonna try to find a way to make it easy and to make it comfortable for the other person. They are, I don't know, I think they're trained or they're really good at it. So with character interactions, I don't think there's a problem. You just have to don't be scared and enjoy the moment. And if you can understand, they're gonna be able to navigate.
They're going to be able to sort of read the room and figure out what that needs to be done at that moment.
Exactly.
What about food? What about dining experiences? Is this an issue? I mean, I would imagine that food is universal, so it's easy to figure out what to do in a restaurant. Is there any barriers to anything that happens with the language barrier in restaurants?
We were talking about my Disney experience and the fact that it wasn't in Spanish, for example, or any other languages. But if you go to Disney's official website, you're going to be able to see that page in your language or in Spanish, for example. So they have the menus from all the restaurants, and you're going to be able to see that. If you don't understand what something means or what kind of food are they talking about on the menu, that's a good way to see the food in your language. And also, I mean, we all have these devices, and this is great when, even for me, when I don't understand something or I have doubts, I connect to the Wi-Fi, Disney Wi-Fi, the internet connection, and just look on whatever app I use for translation, like Google Translate, and look if I don't understand any food item, and I'm going to be able to see what it is. Or even if it's something that we're not used to having in our countries, you can Google it and you're going to see pictures of it and you're going to understand. So technology is a great help to deal with that.
Yeah, it breaks down barriers. I mean, it helps for everything. It helps for us traveling somewhere where we don't speak the language. We can definitely look things up and figure stuff out.
On more than one occasion, we've Googled something on a menu.
Yeah. And found that it was like fish guts or something and decided
it's made with toes or something.
Yeah. So I'm going to say in a nutshell, what I've always thought is that Disney is a welcoming place for everybody, and everyone should feel comfortable there, and they're going to do everything they can to make this great experience for you. But what about the thing Disney can't control, which is other guests? do you find that there's problems with other guests in the parks if you're not speaking English, or if maybe someone recognizes you're from another country? Does that pose any problems?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, we're very different at least in Latin America. Like the protocol of connecting with other people is different. We're used to looking people at the eyes or at the face, and maybe that in some other places in the world is unpolite or is rude even. So I think it's just a matter of understanding that you're living your country, you're living your culture, and it's a good way to learn from other culture, learn from other people, and understanding their culture. So you're always gonna find, not always, but you may find some cases where that cultural thing is, like you feel uncomfortable because you're not used to that. But just remember that you're traveling and that you're gonna find that things that makes us different, and that's not a bad thing. But in Disney World specifically, since it's a place visited by people from all over the world, I think there's I don't know, I feel like, in my opinion, there's a sense of tolerance, or that people understand that not all of the people visiting are Americans or are from Orlando. They have different cultures, different backgrounds. So it's easy to get that experience.
Right? There's really,
In my opinion.
you don't run into sort of bigotry or anybody being mean to you. This is true wherever we've been in the world.
That's true within the United States, though, too. That you can run into different ways of doing things right here in the United States.
Yes, it's a very multicultural country, so I think you're used to that.
Anytime we've ever traveled someplace where we don't speak the language, I have always found that a smile and please and thank you get you really, really far. I find that people are then willing, it seems that people are willing to step forward and help you. And as John said earlier, as Americans, we think if we talk slow and loud, you're going to understand what we're saying. So I think that's just an American thing, that the louder we talk, the more clear it will become. So I think a smile and please and thank you all over the world. If you know how to say it wherever you're going, you've got a head start.
I agree. Anything we miss, Federico? Anything we didn't cover that you run into with folks who don't speak English?
Just my advice is always take it easy and don't be stressed even if you find yourself in a situation where you're stressed because you need an answer or you need to solve a problem solved. Just be calm, and people are going to be there to help you. And if there's a communication problem, they're going to try to find a way to find someone who can understand what you're saying. So just relax and take it easy. Understand that you're in a different country, and don't let the situation get the worst of you, because they are welcoming and ready to help you whatever you need. And always, if you're traveling with small kids, always is better to talk them in advance, in case there's some situations where they may get frustrated for not understanding what they're hearing or what they're seeing.
Can I add something?
Sure.
It also never hurts to ask, if there's a character that does speak Spanish or Japanese or German. Disney World, I've been told Disney World is the most welcoming place, and we have a friend who has physical disabilities. And while I'm not talking, they're not the same, I'm not comparing them, he tells me that they will do anything they can to make his experience better. And I would take that out further, that if you're having a problem with hearing or understanding or speech or directions, or if you're not feeling well, someone at Disney World is there to assist you.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So
Sometimes you have to ask.
you have to ask for sure. You can't just let it sort of happen at you. It's interesting. You mentioned kids a bunch of times, Federico. What about an older generation? Now, someone your age is more willing to learn, to embrace.
Well, I wanted him to be the older generation.
You want him to be the older generation? Bad news for you. We're the older generation. You're more inclined to embrace technology and do all those things you need to do to get through. You find that perhaps, and here's a great example. Latin Americans are very multi-generational when they travel.
Mhm.
The Hispanic community is very multi-generational. They love to take grandma, grandpa, the parents, and the kids. Do you find grandma and grandpa are a little more resilient to learning languages, or they need something? What?
Resistant.
Would I say resilient? Resistant. Yeah, a little more resistant to learning that stuff.
No, maybe with technology is a bit difficult because that's like a different language that is completely like hard to understand, and we have to understand that as a younger generation who grew up with technology, we have to be tolerant and to understand that it's not the same for everyone. So I think that when you're traveling with someone older, just don't. So you don't give it for granted that your grandma is going to be able to use the telephone the same way you do. You know, be patient and help them to be able to have that tools the best way possible. But with language, I think, I mean, everyone knows and understands that it's something very common in our world, that we speak different languages. Even in Latin America, we have people who speak very different Spanish. So you have to understand that a word that I said may be something completely different in other country, and you have to be aware of that. And yeah.
I think
Absolutely.
you did something earlier. I think if you come, you alluded to coming and being open-minded. If you come in a spirit of I'm going to have a good time, no matter what comes at me, I think that's going to make it easier. I don't think anybody's ever going to be stranded. I am certain that when you're in a Disney park, you are going to be able to find someone that communicates with you.
Absolutely. You know, we have, so we've come at this from a different angle. We've been to the Disney parks around the world, and we've been to the Asian parks, and it's very different there. It's even because of the written language is so different that it's hard to sort of piece stuff together. And I got to tell you, we've never had a problem, never had an issue, always had fun. You just have to sort of embrace it, that it's going to be a different experience. And that
There was a witch in Disneyland Paris who annoyed me.
however, I think she was American, wasn't she?
I think she was.
I don't think she was French. She was American. All right. Federico, thank you so much for doing this with us. I've been wanting to do this for a while, so I'm glad we finally got to it.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
It's always good to see you.
Good to see you too, Kevin.
I will have Federico's email address up during the show, so you'll be able to contact him directly if you'd like to work with a Spanish-speaking agent, or you can write to me, john@dreamsunlimitedtravel.com, and I will get you to one of our Spanish-speaking agents.
You can write to me too, and if it comes in Spanish, it just goes to Federico.
Well, it's better the old days where we used to run it through Google Translate.
I did.
Oh my gosh.
Because I'm embarrassed to say that my Spanish comes from Ricky Ricardo. My Spanish is not very good. So you would have to talk very slow and very loud.
All right. Thank you guys very much for being a part of the show. Thank you, everybody at home, for listening and watching. We hope you have a great week, and we hope you have a great vacation.